Previously on the Rod Pedersen Show.
Hard Knocks debuted the 2021 season last night on HBO. I watched it, featuring America's team, the Dallas Cowboys. And it's funny, this morning, USA Today had a headline, 5 takeaways from Hard Knocks. I started reading it. I'm like, what am I reading this for? I don't need your 5 takeaways. I got a couple. Number one, I was not the biggest Dak Prescott fan. I think people that watch this show know that. I'm less of a Dak Prescott fan coming out of watching this show. What a whiner. What a whiner. Look, I understand you want to take every rep. I get it. You can't take every single rep. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
He was very upset
that he couldn't.
That he was pulled early in this training camp a couple weeks ago because they want to give the backups some work. Danny Bonaducci, the backup quarterback. Well, Ben DiNucci's his name, but I call him Danny Bonaducci, which means nothing to you, do you? He was the star of the Partridge Family. Anyways, that was one. Dak, come on, stop whining. Let these other guys have some work. And then, of course, he ends up getting hurt. 2, the biggest one was Jera. When he was talking to the team, I thought it was the head therapist. You said it was the team doctor.
Yeah, it was one of the two.
Yeah. So he's writing with an HB pencil these notes on Dak, talking with the medical staff on the phone. And we all take away different things. But my thing was this. He's eating a McDonald's Egg McMuffin, Jera Jones. And people are saying, well, what's odd about that? He's worth $7-8 billion. How did he not have a Red Seal chef at his ready? You know, here you go, Mr. Jones. You know, with his choice, an omelet station.
Yeah, exactly. He's got Benedict or something like.
Right. An omelet station, a guy cutting a roast at the end of the table. Jerry, when you're done with the trainer, we have your choice here of ham, roast beef. Do you want that in your omelet, Mr. Jones?
Get ready for the Rod Pedersen Show. Now,
you all didn't know the old me, that for 40 years, Darren, I was a kamikaze. The fact that I'm alive is a miracle.
How about that?
I've ridden steers, jumped off cliffs, been shot and been shot at, and I survived it all.
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
Oh, boy. Hi, everybody. Welcome. Producer Clark just said, welcome to a wonderful Wednesday. You spoke too soon, Clark. Can you hear that? Can you all hear that? It's like it's on a blinking timer. How do you like this so far? It's the RP Show coming at you live on Game Plus TV, YouTube Live, iHeartRadio, and WQEE. Listen. It won't last for long. Let's bring in the Moose, Darren Moose Dupont from the Canada Winter Games in PEI. Hi, Moose. I'm sitting here. Some donkey's car alarm starts going off here next to our spacious South Florida studio, and I'm like, I might just have to get Moose to talk for the whole warm-up until this idiot comes and unlocks his car. Can you believe this? How are things in PEI, and can you give us a Canada Winter Games update?
Yeah, I'll give you an update. Things are good. Weather's rolling, and, you know, they just said, hey, Rod's on the air. Time to start the horn. So, no, it's good. Some of the snow sports are rolling. Judo seems to be the most popular thing here. You wouldn't believe it. In the convention center where the hotel is, it was lined up at 8:45 for the doors to open at 9 for judo. So it's been crazy. And the boxing, which you know, because you've been around so many of the boxing events, especially with everybody and the great boxing people in Regina back in the day. It was awesome last night. It's so professional, the full ring lights and everything. The photos are fantastic. So we'll be back there again tonight.
Awesome. They really do it up well. And by the way, I think Serena took care of this, but we got the horn fixed. So anyways, we're good to go. Listen, coming up on the program today, Darren Moose Dupont, as you know, here in the warm-up, but he's going to be with us for the full first 40 minutes, and then he's gone. We've got Serena Taylor, our hockey analyst, coming up. What a perfect time for her to join with all the NHL stuff going on. She's the staunch Oilers fan. She's got some clarifications she'd like to make on the Connor Bedard thing and how people have, to quote Chris Jones, got it twisted. Sportsnet Winnipeg, Sean Reynolds is going to be with us in hour 1, and in hour 2, Jason Gregor of TSN 1260 Edmonton to talk about what's going down with the Oilers. Can you hit the quick 6 show horn, please?
Bob's your
And
uncle.
by the way, we've got breaking news out of the CFL today, which we will get to here in the warm-up. But, Moose, I want to say something before I get into the normal preamble of what we do every day here on everybody's favorite daytime sports talk show. And that is, it really dawned on me today, and it has several times, why God put me in the position to be in the Canadian Football League and in the wonderful sport of football for 20 years, a generation working in it. Because this morning I was out for a coffee with a bunch of guys. I think I told you a little bit about this morning, but not all of it. And I only knew one guy there was my new friend, Derek. But this guy sitting beside me, he turns, he's like, CFL, eh? I'm wearing he actually didn't say, eh. He said, CFL, huh? I said, yeah. I had a retro, I meant to bring the hat out here. Remember those old retro classic hats they made a few years ago with the old logo on it, the old CFL logo on it? I was wearing that. He says, my son played for the BC Lions, Jake Bovshever. He never got off the practice roster, but he played, I said, he was a quarterback. I said, with Nathan Rourke. He's like, no, not Rourke. The guy that won all the awards. Here's a lesson, Darren, in how fast we move on as sports fans. He goes, who's the guy? Oh, the guy that won all the awards with the BC Lions. I'm like, I'm drawing a blank. So the guy Googles, it's Mike Riley. That's who the kid played with. He was on the practice roster. I couldn't even remember. None of us could remember how fast we move on as a society, right?
Yeah.
The Kennewick, Washington product. And by the way, so we exchanged numbers. We're now Facebook friends. And he's looking at me. He's like, oh, you're a sports announcer. My life, I have long felt like I was living in a movie. And since yours and my lives morphed, you know how it feels like we're living in a movie? This was like a Flintstones episode. Because he's looking at my Facebook. He's looking at me and he goes, you still do that sports announcing? I'm like, as required, yes. From time to time, like the Boca Raton Bowl or the Centennial Cup. Yes, I do it from time to time. But I do other things too. So I just like, you still do that sports announcing? And the CFL hat was the icebreaker to a wonderful conversation and a new friend. So how about that? Can you hit the show horn, please, again, Director Jordan, and we'll get on.
Bob's your uncle.
That's today's story time from South Florida with RP. We're doing something new here, Moose. Where's my belt? Instead of NHL leftovers, we're calling this NHL appetizers. Okay, Moose? NHL appetizers, because we're looking ahead to tonight. The Toronto Maple Leafs and Edmonton Oilers meet in the all-Canadian NHL battle in the Alberta capital.
Spicy.
Both teams have been busy ahead of Friday's trade deadline. The Leafs' latest move saw them acquire defenseman Luke Schenn from the Vancouver Canucks, while the Oilers picked up blue liner Matthias Ekholm from the Predators in a multiplayer trade that saw Tyson Barrie shipped to Nashville. And I should mention, it was just this morning, was it not, the LA Kings trading goalie Jonathan Quick and a pair of draft picks to the Columbus Blue Jackets for Vladislav Gavrikov and goalie Eunice Korpisalo. By the way, Serena will have a wonderful analysis of that at hour 2 because she lived in L.A. for over a decade, right in the middle of the Jonathan Quick dominance of the National Hockey League with the L.A. Kings. She was stunned at that move. So, how are you, Moose, and our audience, listeners, TV watchers on what the Leafs and the Oilers did in the last 24 hours ahead of meeting tonight at Rogers Place?
Edmonton needed defense. That's what we knew. They needed to do something to keep pucks out of the net. They accomplished that. They got one of the top defenders, really, really good, 5-on-5 defensively. So I think they accomplished that. They could probably add more to the back end. And for the Leafs, they continue to make moves. I know you said last night that it's probably too many moves for the Leafs, and they're flirting with that for sure. You don't want to disrupt the core. But I think what they've done is they've stabilized the back end with veterans. We know about Ryan O'Reilly before. I think Leaf fans are a lot more confident about this group going into the postseason than they were a year ago.
Well, you asked producer Clark, big Leafs fan, before the show what he thought. He gave it the thumbs up. So for all of you Leaf fans, and this is a wonderful contrast, by the way, that you, Darren, one half of this show, plus Clark, are staunch Leaf fans, and I'm staunchly not. If they go and win the Stanley Cup this year, I'll be happy for them. Believe me, I will. I want a Canadian team to win the Stanley Cup. But I've watched a lot of Leafs hockey lately, and I'm like, dang, they're good. I kind of tend to believe with Clark when they blew up in Chicago, why it was 3 games and 3 nights for Noel Ochari and O'Reilly, and they just played like it. The whole team did. Other than that, they've been killing everybody. Tonight will be a fantastic measuring stick, a litmus test, if you will, for who's better. By the way, Nick, we need to walk this back from viewer Nick. He writes in and says, Rod, you better call out Serena about Bedard. Let me guess, she thinks Bedard's overrated. Should not go number 1. Nick? I'll let her do the talking. But I said to her, listen, welcome back into the media, Serena, because people are going to twist what you say, not let go things that you say. She said in August, Connor Bedard was underwhelming. This was before he got benched. He was benched. Nobody wanted to say it. She did on this show. And then NHL scouts are texting going, she's right. I told her that. She goes, I know. He was underwhelming at the World Juniors. And now people like Nick and Michael out in Winnipeg, they all want to chastise her for this. She was talking about his play in that World Juniors. But anyway, she can speak for herself. She'll clarify that in hour 2. But I also said to her, just be prepared for the fact that they're not ever going to listen. They're not ever going to get it. Ever. Including you, Nick. You're never going to get it. So stop coming in here and trolling every day. If you don't like it, don't watch. Now, the other thing, the Patrick Kane trade was officially consummated this morning. And I guess it's brought up a wonderful poll question. Where is it? For Capital Auto Mall Universal Collision Center, which of these top 4 Eastern Conference teams, what was it, Clark? Who's the best? I didn't see the wording. I can't remember the wording of it. Who's the best Eastern Conference team? Okay, we've got the Bruins, the Rangers, the Leafs, and the Hurricanes. That's just 4. And you know there's going to be Lightning fans going, what about us? What about us? This Eastern Conference, I don't know, man. I feel like this, Darren, is the wildest stretch drive leading into what could be the wildest playoffs ever in NHL history. And Stephen Ellis yesterday from Daily Faceoff made the good point. He's like, every year we get sucked into this because every year it's great. But I don't remember this, where you have 5, maybe 6 legit teams that could go on and win the Stanley Cup in one conference.
Heavyweights. Yeah, heavyweights. I think the poll probably should be something along the lines of, who's the second best team? Because I think we have to anoint Boston the best team in the East until somebody proves that they're not. But when you've got, the Rangers, the Leafs, and the Devils, and you go down the list of everybody loading up, and the Lightning are in that conversation, it is going to be heavyweight slugfest time.
Yes.
Toronto's going to have to play Tampa in the first round, and, it's going to be some really tough opening first-round matchups, but that's what's going to make the playoffs great. So the East is, it's going to be a grind.
We've got our NHL top 5, bottom 5 coming up in hour 2 when Serena joins us. So get ready for that for our exclusive betting partner, Bet Regal. The robe is ready to roll. Ryan O'Radio's checked in from Noonan, Georgia, and he says, time for the RP show. King Rod, Top Gun, and Serena. How about this? This dawned on me as I was driving around South Florida this morning. We've got more radio listeners in the state of Georgia than we do in Saskatchewan, Alberta, and Manitoba. Just think about that for a second. Think about that. Let that marinate for a second. We have more radio listeners in the Atlanta area than the Canadian Prairie. How about that? A quick moving on here, if we were ever really on track, to point 2, 3 NHL leftovers from Tuesday night. The Boston Bruins won their 8th straight Tuesday thanks to Charlie McAvoy's overtime goal. 4-3 in Calgary. How about this? 54 saves by Linus Ullmark, the Bruins goalie. It's the most in his career. Dan Vladar got pulled after the first period in goal for Calgary. I'm not going to belabor this Calgary thing. I have never seen anything as painful to watch as this. And I'm not even really a Flames fan. I was pulling for them to do something in the playoffs because we're going to be there at Grey Eagle Resort and Casino. But holy smokes, you want to talk about the gang that couldn't shoot straight. Anze Kopitar scored 4 goals, and Adrian Kempe scored in the shootout as the visiting LA Kings rallied from a 2-goal deficit in the third period to post a 6-5 victory over the Jets. The Jets are winless in 4 for the first time this year. For the Habs fans, where the Habs fans at? Jesse Ilainen, Caden Gooley, and Christian Dvorak scored third-period goals as the visiting Montreal Canadiens rallied to beat the Sharks in San Jose 3-1. I'm not going through all the games, but I'll just say the last one here of our tour of leftovers that we're munching on today, the day after, come from Tampa, where Anton Lundell and Eetu Luostarinen scored 1:41 apart late in the first period, and Florida snapped Tampa Bay's home point streak at 16 games. Eric Stahl and Anthony Duclair also scored. Bob made 29 saves. Bob's your uncle. Panthers have alternated wins and losses over the last 9 games. Braden Point scored on a power play in the second period, and Vazzy made 37 saves for the Lightning. I feel like the Panthers are just toiling in obscurity down here in South Florida, just like Panthers do, and waiting to pounce out of the bushes when people aren't ready. Is anybody in Canada talking about the Florida Panthers, Moose?
No. Not at all. But they will if they find a way to get into the playoffs. That's going to be it. But down the stretch for some of these teams, you're right. Like, you're on a roller coaster of anxiety and stress and pain. Whether you're in Calgary, whether you're in Florida, whether you're in some of these markets where, you know, the expectation was that you should be comfortably riding your way into a playoff spot, not scratching and clawing for every last point just to hopefully get in. So it's going to be a tough stretch here in those 2 markets.
You can always write us at 902-518-3033. And I don't know, Clark, we got a photo here sent to us from... It's a couple of Leafs fans. Oh, they were in. It's on the text line 902 Clark. If you want to throw it up, you can. If you don't, you don't have to, certainly, because they're Leaf fans. This ain't Leafs TV. But it was 2 guys at the Leafs game last night. They said they were they were at the Flames game against Boston wearing Leafs jerseys. Okay, they said they were just warming up for when the Leafs come. You guys are weird. Toronto fans are weird. Breaking news. Darcy from Grand Prairie writes in, and he says, please talk about Trevor Bauer. No one else will. Keep up the great work. I'm not going to talk about Trevor Bauer today. I don't have an opinion. I'd have to have to do a little more research. Because I was sitting here looking at the Blue Jays spring training scores over the last 4 days going, we ain't going to analyze Blue Jays spring training. We're not. And as a matter of fact, Sportsnet is on radio and television, and I'm seeing the criticism that they're getting from their viewers for doing that. We're not going to do that. We're not the rights holders. Clark has the photo, so you can explain this however you want. Leafs fans, they look like twinsies, don't they? In Calgary last night. Imagine the abuse they must have taken on the concourse in the Saddledome. Those 2 beefy boys would barely fit on the Saddledome concourse. So anyways, they sent that in, and now they're driving to Edmonton for today's game. Leafs and Oilers. I feel like it's like there's a lot of excitement in the Great White North in advance of this all-Canadian matchup tonight, Toronto and Edmonton. We'll take a timeout, Moose. It's been all hockey in the warm-up. We'll get to other sports, the breaking CFL news, as I mentioned. Blue Jays, Raptors, Hawks, Aaron Rodgers, NFL Combine, Dub Hub. It's a busy time of year, don't you know? We'll be right back on Game Plus TV, iHeartRadio, YouTube Live, and WQEE The Key.
Head to youtube.com/The Rod Pedersen Show now. You gotta subscribe. Click the subscribe button for all the content you may have missed.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
It's time to trade and upgrade at Capital Ford Lincoln. Great news, factory credits are back. That means massive savings on every new vehicle. Take advantage of up to $7,000 in discounts on all remaining new 2022 F-150s. And rates are as low as 1.99% OAC. Looking for a used vehicle? You gotta check out our all makes, all models inventory. Plus, don't pay for 90 days on all new and used vehicles. There's never been a better time to trade and upgrade at Capital Ford Lincoln. CapitalFordLincoln.com.
Universal Collision Center is Saskatchewan's premier auto body shop. Our extensive process ensures that every vehicle that comes through our state-of-the-art facilities is returned pre-accident condition, and that every UCC customer experience is an easy one. We're certified to repair all makes, all models, and all luxury brands, and Universal Auto Spa offers full-service detailing packages to suit you and your vehicle. Plus, we're the official body shop of your Saskatchewan Rough Riders. Universal Collision Center, 3910 Rochdale Boulevard and 2355 First Avenue in Regina.
Easy snacking all around. Something everyone can love.
Smoky in the air, that's a lot of fun. Big time, big time, big time, big time.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Hey, honey, can you get one of the kids to show me how this Twitter thing works? Honey, I need to get on Instagram. Time for more of the Rod Pedersen Show.
Okay, we've now tweeted it officially. Go to the @Rod Pedersen Show for our today's poll question. Who is the best team in the NHL's Eastern Conference given all these trades? And let's remember, we're still 48 hours-ish away from the NHL trade deadline, but it has been an insane run here. Let's bring in the Moose, if we don't mind. Clark, what was the body of work? Who's leading? Is it Toronto? Oh, Boston. Is Boston leading right now on YouTube? Must be. Boston's killing it. Well, hey. The other day, Darren, I left everybody hanging. I said I would come up with who I thought was going to be in the Stanley Cup final after completely whiffing. Way back in the fall, I said Calgary, Florida. They may end up both missing the playoffs. I'm thinking Boston, Vegas. I never did unveil that at the end of the show, but I do have it written down from last week. And interestingly enough, remember EA Sports with their simulations? A few years ago,
yes,
they did a simulation that ended in Vegas, Boston winning, and I think it was Boston winning in 6. And oddly enough, Craig Button a few years ago predicted a St. Louis-Boston Stanley Cup final a year before it happened. And then the next year it did happen. And I'm like, remember, Craig, you said that? When he was on the show, and he's like, I don't remember saying that, but I say a lot of things. So maybe EA Sports, maybe EA Sports is ahead of their time. Are you sticking with heads Carolina, tails Colorado with your Stanley Cup final? Or are you changing it based on
no,
the trades? Okay.
I'm staying with it. I'm sticking with it, man. I think that's going to be it. Colorado's been rolling, and Carolina's they're as good as they are, they're still under the radar. But when you start thinking about it, I'm like, man, they're probably going to have to play the Rangers at some point, and then Boston. Like, how do you get out of that? But, yeah, I like them.
Coming up in hour 2, our NHL top 5, bottom 5 for Bet Regal. We'll do it when Serena's with us. That's when she will be with us. Point 3, the quick 6, the Washington Wizards spoiled Quinn Snyder's Atlanta coaching debut, getting 37 points from Bradley Beal and 28 from Kyle Kuzma in a 119-116 NBA victory over the Atlanta Hawks. Trae Young had 31 to lead the ATL. In Toronto, Spicy P scored 20. Gary Trent Jr. had 19. And the Toronto Raptors beat the Chicago Bulls 104-98. Raps have won 8 of their last 10. To point 4, catcher Stevie Berman had a 2-run homer off the bench, and outfielder Kevin Kiermaier went 2 for 2 with a run batted in and scored 2 runs as the Blue Jays split squad beat the visiting Detroit Tigers 6-4 Tuesday in spring training baseball. Another Blue Jays split squad lost 7-2 to the Phillies Tuesday afternoon in Clearwater. Darren, we're not going to get hot and bothered over spring training results, okay? Write it down.
No.
Before I left Regina, I was watching television, and Jeff Blair, I know pretty well on Sportsnet 950 or 590 in Toronto. He had the guy with a southern accent with him. Can't remember his name. They're talking Blue Jays is minus 38 outside. I'm like, what's wrong with y'all? Come on. But I get it. It's Sportsnet. They're all Blue Jays. They got to. We ain't. So how much are you watching spring training baseball results?
I'm not. To be honest, I'm not. I mean, when I see it and I see the coverage, and we kind of bring it up here in the sports updates and whatnot, like, it gets me excited for sure for spring. But I want to get excited the 2 weeks ahead of the opening day. That's when I'm going to get really excited. It's cool. Catchers and pitchers reported when they did, and everybody else reported now some spring training games. But I'm not following results. I'm not paying attention to who's doing what that closely yet. But I will get excited when it gets to April.
The stars are the game. The stars are the game. I'm looking there. Did Vladdy play? No, not interested. And that's the one thing that the owners tend to forget. You know, for some reason, I don't think I ate enough this morning. I'm getting a little spacey, more spacier than normal.
Oh, no.
But they talk about the parents.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, no, go ahead on that, and then come around on the pitch clock, because we haven't talked about that yet, the pitch clock in baseball.
Listen, I'm reserving my judgment on that until I'm reserving it for the baseball people before I really dig in and watch it. I'm seeing that they've shaved off 20 to 28 minutes per game. Trust me, I'm no idiot. I stay at Holiday Inn Express. But I'm not going to. I have a tough time watching 60 minutes of a hockey game, let alone 3.5 hours for a baseball game. And I see baseball purists that are saying that baseball is becoming agonizingly boring. I get it. So I'll sit down come regular season maybe and watch these games. That's when I'll make my judgment. But overall, Darren, it's 2023. I'm seeing people applauding the changes. I'm seeing people bitch about them. You're not going to please everybody, right?
You're not. You won't please everybody. You know, I saw a side-by-side video where one pitcher pitched a full half inning here in preseason in the same amount of time that a pitcher in the playoffs threw one ball. Pitched a whole half inning. One pitch. I mean, it's fast, it's moving, it's let's go, let's keep the action moving. And I don't think it's really affecting the game yet, but I'm not a baseball purist, you know, so I don't know if it's going to change the game and how much, but it's definitely going to be more entertaining.
Well, we can be fans here on this show. That's why I think people like it, because we're all sitting here talking as fans. But Larry the Cable Guy went off Saturday because it was the Braves game. Bottom of the ninth. Third out was called because the batter took too long getting set in this. You're up. All of a sudden, we got to go to the top of the 10th into extra innings. He's like, this is supposed to speed up the game. It's making it longer. What the hell? So that's from Larry the Cable Guy. If there was ever the voice of reason, it's Larry the Cable Guy. From Kevin the Medium, he says, good morning, RP peeps. We were asking earlier about Stanley Cup final and who's going to make the playoffs, who isn't. Allie in Texarkana says, I'm going to say Avs Boston, as much as I would love for it to be my Stars or Hurricanes. From Andrew Stout, he says, I'm hoping that Florida misses the playoffs. The Habs have the Panthers' first-round pick. Well, poo-poo to you, Andrew. Ryan in Saratoga, New York says, true, no reason to get excited over spring training. Nope, not doing it. Darren in Utah says baseball's not exciting until October. LOL. I wouldn't quite go that far, but I'm not there yet. So moving on in the quick six to the breaking news from the Canadian Football League today. As we said, the players are the game. They're the stars of the game. Dontrell Inman is back with the Toronto Argonauts. The 34-year-old signed with the CFL team Wednesday morning after 7 seasons in the National Football League with Washington, the LA Chargers, Indianapolis, and Chicago. Inman was with Toronto in 2012-13, helping the Argos win a Grey Cup in his first season with the team. He's 6'3", 205, had 50 receptions for 803 yards and 5 touchdowns back in 2012. That's like a decade ago, bro. He was released after the 2013 season to pursue NFL opportunities, and he stayed down there. To be honest, I'm a little surprised that he's coming back, other than here's a guy that just loves football, and Dontrell Inman is going to be tough to cover in the CFL. He always has been. I think you watch the NFL as much as you watch CFL. He did some good, obviously, some great things. I think we remember him as a Charger. Now I go back to what I put in the commentary this morning. Vets do have a value if they come cheap because they're proven, they're trustworthy. The Argos know what they're getting in a Dontrell Inman versus signing some young, hotshot, younger player, import, that you don't know that you got to invest and groom, right? You're getting the sure thing with Inman, so I can see why the Argos would want him back.
Yeah, for sure. And as a veteran who's just played a number of seasons in the National Football League, he's a shining example to all the young players to say, hey, look, pay attention, work hard, be engaged, and you can go from here to the National Football League as well and not be too proud to come back at the end of your career. Another veteran in the locker room, that stuff really matters as this team's trying to potentially get back to a Grey Cup and win back-to-back cups and do what Winnipeg just finished doing. So I think there's a lot of positives there. And I think, if the price is right, it's absolutely worth a roster spot. You want to bring names back that'll bring people into the park. So I like it. I really like it, and I can't wait to see what he does.
It's a win. It's a win all around.
Yeah.
Well said, Moose. Troy, watching in Toronto, says if you're at home in the cold, spring training may not mean anything, but if you're in Dunedin, that's a whole different experience. Go, Jays, go. Sure. Hey, life's about choices. My choice is to not go up and down with the fortunes of the Blue Jays in spring training. This is hilarious, by the way. John Ohm. In Winnipeg, writes in and says, where is Aaron Rodgers going to end up? I know, Rod doesn't give a hoot. It's scary that John Ohm read my mind, because that's a very helter-skelter novel. It's in my 6th point here, randoms. I got 3 things written down here. 1, Dub Hub. 2, NFL Combine Week. And 3, Aaron Rodgers. And if anybody ever wanted to sit down and do a thesis, and if I ever go back to school, maybe I'll do it, on public relations, media relations, publicity, getting out in front of the pack as an entity, the NFL leads. I got an email this morning from USA Today where will Aaron Rodgers end up? What John Ohm just said. It will affect these 16. I was almost like, nope, not doing it. Not clicking on it, not falling for it. No. And then as I was driving around today, which incidentally my sponsor texted me, and he goes, let me guess, Rod, you're really happy. Once I pulled over, I said, that's funny, Bob. I was just thinking how happy I am. That's a fact. Real happy here in South Florida, but I was listening to the radio. You like these stories? Here's what they're talking about on Miami Sports Radio today. My guy Joe Rose, the Carm Carteri of Miami, he's on the radio talking about how the Dolphins coach Mike McDaniel blew clock management at the end of the first half of the playoff game. I'm like, Nope, can't. Click. Over to Fox Sports Radio. 2 pros and a cup of Joe. That's the morning show. And they said, welcome to your home of NFL Combine coverage, Fox Sports Radio. Nope. To a Spanish news station. I'll listen to that. But you see what? It's just in your face, Darren. It's in your face. You better love football if you're going to live in America, man, because it is 24/7. And here we go. Like, this is almost an insult. Now all these Aaron Rodgers comments have come from all the viewers. They're getting sucked into it. Don, our Navy friend, says, how many guys coming back from the NFL have any impact? Duke Williams has been a bust. A case-by-case scenario? Because I know 2 guys that had an immediate mega impact with teams I was on. By name, Weston Dressler. We love our little Weston. And John Chick, J-Bone, when he came back from the Jacksonville Jaguars. Remember that? And we went and won a Grey Cup. So that's probably what the Argos are thinking. Moose, I guess we're done. I think we're done with you today.
How about that?
So thanks for your contributions. We covered everything. We really did. We didn't get as much into the Connor Bedard talk. Yeah, I would have liked to talk more about Connor Bedard, but I think we'll probably talk more about him. By the way, people are interested in joining us in Nashville, so I hope you weren't just whistling Dixie. I hope you weren't just blowing smoke, that we might put a sports trip together to come down to the NHL draft. I think it would be big fun in Nashville. We'll be broadcasting the show live here, but have sports fans come down there, go honky-tonkin' and get all banged up with Moose. Hang out with me.
Let's do it.
I think that's kind of what we were talking about. Okay, you get on that. And have a great day, Moose. We'll see you tomorrow.
You bet. See you guys.
Sean Reynolds next from Sportsnet, Winnipeg. They lost again. We're going to talk Jets some more when we return. We're live on Game Plus TV, carried all across Manitoba on Bell MTS Cable, as you probably know by now. YouTube Live, iHeart Radio, and WQEE, your southern home of sports and talk, the key.
Head to youtube.com/The Rod Pedersen Show now. You gotta subscribe. Click the subscribe button for all the content you may have missed.
Hi, my name's Logan Stankoven. And I'm Connor Bedard. We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
It's time to trade and upgrade at Capital GMC. Great news, factory credits are back. That means massive savings on every new vehicle. We have over 100 GMC Sierras available, and they're all priced to move. Looking for a used vehicle? You gotta check out our all makes, all models, GM certified pre-owned inventory. Plus, don't pay for 90 days on all new and used vehicles. There's never been a better time to trade and upgrade at Capital GMC. CapitalGMC.ca.
Nestled in the scenic Qu'Appelle Valley, just 20 minutes northwest of Regina, is one of the finest golf courses in all of Saskatchewan, the Deer Valley Golf Club. The clubhouse has a full-service restaurant, and customers can enjoy a casual dining experience with spectacular views of the golf course and valley. A fully stocked golf shop, staffed by PGA of Canada professionals, is equipped to meet all of your golf apparel and equipment needs. Book your tee time, family event, or corporate tournament today at the Deer Valley Golf Club. Call 306-731-1445.
Easy snacking all around. Something everyone can love.
I'm Bridget Lacquette. I'm a First Nation Olympic silver medalist, and I'm proud to represent Indigenous hockey players across Canada. Each year, hundreds of Canadians need a stem cell transplant from an unrelated donor to save their life. Anyone can have a hard time finding a stem cell match, but for Indigenous peoples, it can be even more difficult because just over 1% of prospective donors on Canada's stem cell registry are of Indigenous backgrounds. Be a hero. Join me in Hockey Gives Blood in helping to make a life-saving difference to those in need. Register today at blood.ca/beahero.
The SJHL raffle is underway with your chance to win a brand new Polaris side-by-side, courtesy of the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. Tickets are available now until April 23rd, with the draw taking place live on SJHL Insiders April 27th. 1 for $25, 3 for $60, or 10 for $100. But there are only 5,000 tickets available. Get yours today at sjhlraffle.ca.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Send us your opinions now. We won't victimize you unless you really deserve it. Now, back to your host, Rod Pedersen.
Welcome back to the RP Show, everybody. And the poll question today, before we go any further, is which is the best NHL Eastern Conference team so far through all these trades this week ahead of the NHL trade deadline? Our options are the Rangers, the Leafs, the Bruins, and the Hurricanes. That's just going by the top 4 teams in points, and so far the Boston Bruins are running away with it. The West, the Winnipeg Jets might get some votes, although not lately. Sean Reynolds joins us from Winnipeg less than 24 hours after the Jets lost in extra time to the LA Kings. Rennie, glad to have you with us. Would you mind pausing the Jets talk for a second and taking a swing at our poll question?
Yeah.
Who you think's the best team in the East right now? Who's going to represent the East in the Stanley Cup final?
I think it's funny that the Lightning don't even make that list, and it could very well be the Lightning that walk out of that. I mean, it's I take a look at what the Lightning have done just with Tanner Jeannot, and I've said this time and time again, and I compare it to the Winnipeg Jets, not to try and take it back there, but Julian Breezewell can make moves, definitive moves like that, and go pick up a player like Tanner Jeannot and pay the price that he does, because he knows exactly what he's getting from his team and his core and his individual players at all times. He knows Kucherov is going to show up. He knows Braden Point is going to morph into one of the best players in the playoffs. So you can go out and fill those holes, do it definitively, and pay the price because you know what you're going to get. That's a real luxury for teams and especially for GMs. But I would say even with them being not being on that list, I mean, what the Boston Bruins are doing right now is absolutely phenomenal. And you add to that a goaltender that had a performance like Linus Ullmark had last night. And you've got a team that can beat you with grit. They can beat you with skill. They can beat you with their goaltending, and they've beefed up their defense. There are not many chinks in the armor with that team. So I can understand why they are running away with your poll at this time.
Well, you know what? You mentioned Lightning not in it, nor are the Devils, and something just jarred in my memory. I watched the Jets games on that swing through New York, New Jersey, and you were on it. Must be nice to be on the road again, Rennie. And just give me a story of something kooky that happened, because something always happens in New York. Kooky.
Well, the kookiest thing that happened, as kooky as New York is on the way home, we were supposed to fly home on Thursday, and the flight got canceled and pushed back a day, which is no big deal. But everyone else, my partner, Ken Weeb, my podcast partner, was there. His flight got pushed back to the following Monday. So he and Mike McIntyre from the Free Press had to fly all the way across the country to Phoenix to get there and then hop home so that they could get back in time for the Avalanche game. And I felt sorry for him, but he was the guy feeling sorry for me soon enough. So my flight got pushed back a day. Yay, I get an extra day taken care of in New York. But then I got back to Toronto the next day and my flight was canceled. And then I was rebooked until Monday. That flight was canceled on Monday, pushed back to Tuesday. It's Wednesday now. The funny part about it is I somehow found my way on a plane. Air Canada doesn't know it yet. Air Canada keeps sending me links and keeps telling me that, sorry, your flight's been canceled. It's been canceled. As far as Air Canada knows, I'm still sitting in the Toronto airport right now and have been waiting about 4 or 5 days to get home. But whatever happened with that eastern storm around there, that was the craziest travel situation I've seen before. It was brutal. I was this close, Rod, to renting a car and making the 24, 26-hour drive from Toronto back to Winnipeg.
Hence why I sit here in 29 degrees Celsius weather in South Florida and stay out of it all. One time in New York,
I've said this for a while. You're the guy who's got it all figured out, Rod. We know it.
Someday everybody's going to catch up. But yeah, one weekend in New York, I met Tim Tebow and Ted Nugent. I have the photos to prove it. That's a story for another time.
Wow.
Can you please part the seas of controversy in Winnipeg? Like, holy smokes, are they mad? Ugh. What's your read on this hockey team right now?
Oh, okay. My read, as everyone else's, is you take a look at this frustrating Winnipeg Jets team and you think that they are so capable, and it just drives you nuts. You don't know why they can't figure it out. I would listen to you, Rod, and I know that you were talking a little while ago about the Calgary Flames being, a team that if they could get their act together, they could be the best team in the West. They've always baffled me because they're good one year, bad the next year. Good one year, bad the next year. The Jets baffle people because every single year they show that they are capable of being one of the best teams in the league, and then they fall off. So what we're seeing right now from the Winnipeg Jets, people are surprised by it, and they shouldn't be surprised by it. This is exactly who the Winnipeg Jets are, and this is exactly who they've been since they went on that run in 2018. People are going to think I'm crazy, but if you think back, 2019, they shot out of the gates. They were one of the best teams in the league, fell apart down the stretch, allowed the St. Louis Blues to almost catch them in the standings after trailing by something audacious like 19 points. Then they lost to them in the first round. The next year is aborted by COVID. The year after that, if you remember, in the Canadian division, they were duking it out for Toronto as one of the best teams in the Canadian division the entire year, then fell apart at the end of the year and limped into the playoffs as the 14th overall seed. And last year, the Winnipeg Jets had their best start in franchise history and fell off the map and missed the playoffs. Well, what we're seeing right now is a continuation of what seems to happen time and time again with this Winnipeg Jets team. They come out ready to play. They are beating up on teams. That's what we saw from them earlier this year. They were the biggest, toughest team on the schoolyard in the Western Conference and were beating people up along the way. And now they are getting handed their lunch money time and time again. It doesn't matter if it's playoff teams. It doesn't matter if it's teams below the playoff line. In fact, this stretch where the Jets have been, awful since basically mid-January, there was a stretch where they played, I think it was like 13 of 16 games had come against teams below the playoff line. That should have been a time that the Jets separated themselves and become clearly and far and away the best team in the Western Conference. Instead, they've dropped like a stone and now find themselves in that very last playoff spot in the West.
Well, you're not a coach. I'm not a coach, but I guess we could play them on TV. How's Rick Bowness going to handle this the rest of the way?
Yeah. It's been really interesting because Rick Bowness came in and he demanded accountability right off the bat. And it was a very public accountability, which never happened under Paul Maurice. Paul Maurice would take a game like last night. He'd come out and he'd say, "Oh, I like that game. I like that game. There were things that you, the hockey fan, are not seeing in that game that we hockey people see. And it's good. It's good for the future." That was always his line. Rick Bowness came in right off the bat, and in games where Connor Hellebuck was hung out to dry and stole games for the Winnipeg Jets, he pointed that out. And that's happened a number of times this year, 5-7 games this year. Like if you're taking a look at the Jets and where they are in the standings, 10 to 14 points come solely from Connor Hellebuck stealing those games. Over the last little while, he's not so direct, to the point that a couple games ago where the Jets came out and lost 4-0, I believe it was to the New York Islanders, he came out afterwards and kind of did the, I liked our game routine. And it was shocking for us, to be honest, because he'd been so blunt and so truthful. We were sitting there thinking, how could he possibly like that game? Well, he came out the next day and basically copped to, I didn't tell you the truth last night. And I didn't tell you the truth because I hadn't even talked to my team after that game. And I don't tell you guys things I don't tell my team. So I hadn't told my team yet how bad things were, and now I can come out and tell you that. But what I'm feeling out of this, Rod, is that he's getting into a situation where he's taking a look at this team, and maybe he's understanding why for years Paul Maurice soft pedaled everything and tried to see the positives, even though the house was burning down around him. And I think the idea that he's coming up with is that maybe this team is a little bit fragile and has been for a long time and doesn't handle these stretches very well, doesn't handle hockey when other teams raise their game very well. So how he's going to handle this, it seems like he's taking a little bit of a softer approach than he has earlier in the season. But that said, the demanding style he asked from this team, the blueprint that he had them playing that made them a dominant team, they are nowhere near that blueprint right now. That blueprint was based on the Winnipeg Jets at every point in the game, not sitting back, stealing the puck back from the opposition and holding on to it. That is not happening. This is a team that is watching the other team play around them, has been doing this basically for the better part of 6 weeks, if not close to 2 months. They have been in a hole for a long time, and no one has noticed until now because the rest of the West was wide open and people weren't doing well. But as bad as the West has been, everyone has caught them and passed them, and now people are taking notice. This isn't a recent problem. This is a 2023 problem that they can't solve.
Yet. Everybody wants to know how the story ends, and that's what we love about sports is nobody knows. Rennie, keep it up. We're watching all the time, man. Thanks for the time. I appreciate it.
I appreciate that, Rod. Thanks for having me on.
Sportsnet Winnipeg, Sean Reynolds. When we come back, we'll get to your audience questions, some on Bedard, some on tonight's NHL games, and more. And a sports update, Serena Taylor in hour 2, and you never want to miss that. We'll be right back live on Game Plus TV, YouTube, iHeartRadio, and your southern home of sports and talk, WQEE, The Key.
Have you subscribed to the Rod Pedersen Show YouTube channel yet? Head to youtube.com/The Rod Pedersen Show now.
Easy snacking all around. Something everyone can love.
Hey, Rod Squad, now you can join the team with your very own RP Show gear. Head to rodpetersonshop.com and get yours today while supplies last. It's just like we wear on the show, official RP Show gear at rodpetersonshop.com.
Hi, my name's Logan Stankoven.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Grey Eagle Resort and Casino.
It's time to trade and upgrade at Capital GMC. Great news, factory credits are back. That means massive savings on every new vehicle. We have over 100 GMC Sierras available, and they're all priced to move. Looking for a used vehicle? You gotta check out our all makes, all models GM certified pre-owned inventory. Plus, don't pay for 90 days on all new and used vehicles. There's never been a better time to trade and upgrade at Capital GMC. CapitalGMC.ca.
Gotta hit the beat. Gotta hit the beat. Gotta hit the
Download Dark Horse Bets today.
beat. I gotta hit the beat.
Is it time to take your event online? Bring it to IKS Live. We've got a fully customized virtual event platform with remote guest support for your next fundraiser, talk show, conference, performance, and more. IKS Live offers live streaming to Facebook Live and YouTube and pre-recorded capabilities, both in our studio with green screen available and on location with pre-production and post-production services. Visit us at ikslive.ca.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Did you know you can catch all the best moments from the show on all our social media platforms? Now, back to the studio with Rod.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. It's a quickie, they tell me. Not a lot of time for the sports update and audience takeover. So just hang on as I refresh the feed. Hey, Joe's back. Joe's back from Victoria, BC. Funny guy, this Joe. He says the Jets will never make it to the Stanley Cup. They only add forwards. They never add a good defenseman. Well, we'll see. We got a couple days left before the NHL trade deadline. The sports update, as we mentioned, Vladislav Shilo, 2, Fraser, and Matthew Savoy each scored twice as the league-leading Winnipeg Ice drilled the Oil Kings in Edmonton on Tuesday in an afternoon game. In PA, Niall Crocker scored twice. Ryder Ritchie chipped in with 3 assists, and the Prince Albert Raiders beat the visiting Red Deer Rebels 5-2. Meanwhile, Josh Philman scored twice, and Owen Pickering had a goal and 2 helpers as the visiting Swift Current Broncos tamed the Medicine Hat Tigers 5-2. And in Prince George, Chase Whitcroft had a goal and 3 helpers. Tyler Brennan had a 22-save shutty. And the Prince George Cougars crushed the visiting Vancouver Giants 6-0. NBA, Kevin Durant's expected to make his debut with the Phoenix Suns tonight against the Charlotte Hornets. The 13-time All-Star came to the Suns on February 9th in a blockbuster trade that sent 3 players and 4 first-round picks to the Nets. Durant has yet to suit up for the Suns while recovering from a sprained knee ligament. This sports update is for Landmark Cinemas. In Landmark Cinemas now, 80 for Brady. It's inspired by the true story of 4 besties living life to the fullest when they take a wild trip to the 2017 Super Bowl to see their idol Tom Brady play. Starring Academy Award nominee Lily Tomlin, Academy Award winner Jane Fonda, Academy Award winner Rita Moreno, and Academy Award winner Sally Field. Produced by 7-time Super Bowl champion Tom Brady. TB12 in theaters now, 80 for Brady. Where were we? Barry Alt checking in today. Good to see you, Barry, from the audience. He says with Lindgren hurt, wouldn't be surprised if the Rangers try to grab a D-man for insurance. He's the key piece of that defense and allows Adam Fox to play more aggressive. I'm sure Drury's working the phones. It's interesting. On Twitter, we had the question, who's the best team in the East Conference? That's our poll question today for Capital Auto Mall, Universal Collision Center. Last minute of play in hour 1. Somebody wrote in and said, if you're saying anybody but Boston, you're not paying attention. I guess maybe we should have rephrased it. You could be the best team now. Trade deadline hasn't hit yet. And also, maybe a better question would have been, who will represent the East in the Stanley Cup final? Do you think the Boston Bruins will cruise right into the Cup final or eat their shorts on the way or what? These are all things that we will discuss with Serena Taylor next hour. Stephen in North Dakota says that the NHL draft is the first-round pick for Connor Bedard trade bait to the Jets as Stanley Cup winners for their star players. This ain't the CFL where they trade the number 1 overall pick quite regularly. The NHL, they don't trade the number 1 pick, not when you have a generational player like Connor Bedard on the way. Oh, we'll talk about that next after this brief pause on Game Plus and the Key.
Head to youtube.com/The Rod Pedersen Show now. You gotta subscribe. Click the subscribe button for all the content you may have missed.
Hey, Rod Squad, now you can join the team with your very own RP Show gear. Head to rodpetersonshop.com and get yours today while supplies last. It's just like we wear on the show, official RP Show gear at rodpetersonshop.com.
Universal Collision Center is Saskatchewan's premier auto body shop. Our extensive process ensures that every vehicle that comes through our state-of-the-art facilities is returned pre-accident condition, and that every UCC customer experience is an easy one. We're certified to repair all makes, all models, and all luxury brands, and Universal Auto Spa offers full-service detailing packages to suit you and your vehicle. Plus, we're the official body shop of your Saskatchewan Rough Riders. Universal Collision Center, 3910 Rochdale Boulevard and 2355 First Avenue in Regina.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
The SJHL raffle is underway with your chance to win a brand new Polaris side-by-side, courtesy the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. Tickets are available now until April 23rd, with the draw taking place live on SJHL Insiders April 27th. 1 for 25, 3 for 60, or 10 for 100. But there are only 5,000 tickets available. Get yours today at sjhlraffle.ca.
Smoky in the air, that's a lot of fun. Big time, big time, big time, big time.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
No! You all didn't know the old me, that for 40 years, Darren, I was a kamikaze. The fact that I'm alive is a miracle.
How about that?
I've ridden steers, jumped off cliffs, been shot and been shot at, and I survived it all.
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
Yes, it is. Hello, everybody. Where's the bell? Welcome to the RP Show. Hour 2 coming in hot. Live from our South Florida studio with a very special guest. You've asked for her, you got her. Be careful what you ask for. Serena Taylor joins us today, our hockey analyst. How you doing, Serena?
I'm well, thank you.
Good.
Yeah.
You ready to talk hockey?
Always.
You always are. Yes, absolutely. So we're live on Game Plus Television, YouTube, as always, and your southern home of sports and talk, WQEE, the key. Shout out Rhino Radio. We've got a lot of fun things on the go here today. Covered last night's games in hour 1, plus what's the latest in the NHL trades. She's an Oiler fan, if you haven't noticed, and they've joined the party, acquiring a defenseman, Tyson Berry going to Nashville, Matthias Ekholm coming to the Oil, and tonight, all Canadian matchup. You know, Serena, we normally do the NHL leftovers every day to open the show. I said today we're doing an NHL appetizer. Leafs Oilers tonight, Rogers Place. We haven't been there since August. I think it's your favorite place in the world.
It's a big game.
I would say an Ekholm is supposed to be in the lineup tonight for Edmonton. So I think that's going to be, it's going to shift the dynamic a little bit for the Oilers, but I think it's going to be good for him to get in Edmonton right away.
Well, going to walk this back. Allie from Texarkana has written in. She goes, there's my girl. They're your biggest fan, Allie. So we got, I was thinking this morning of all these topics, Blue Jays in spring training, Raptors, Atlanta Hawks. Hockey is the show that we could talk about for 2 hours. By the way, we do have breaking news from the Canadian Football League. The Toronto Argonauts welcoming back 7-year veteran Dontrell Inman. So that's the news from the CFL today. But how much are you paying attention to the way business has changed in the NHL? You used to watch, like all of us, on the Friday trade deadline, we'd sit there all day. Now there's not going to be anything come Friday, I don't think.
You never know. There's always those shockers, but I was asking my dad today, I was like, it's not even the trade deadline yet. Like, what's happening around here? What's going on? Everybody's getting a little maybe trigger happy. But I think everybody's probably happy with their trade so far. But who knows? There might be something at the last minute.
Okay, we'll dive into the poll question today in a moment. I'll get her take and the audience's take. The question, quite simply, is who's the best team in the NHL's Eastern Conference right now? It's for Capital Auto Mall Universal Collision Center. And the options are the Rangers, the Bruins, the Hurricanes, or the Leafs. And that's just, Clark and I took the top 4 points. Because you got Lightning fans and Devils fans going, how about us? And fans of other teams. But before I let you take a swing at that, the Connor Bedard stuff, are you sick of people, what should I say, coming at you on your Connor Bedard comments or no?
No, because there's only people that, like the small amount of people that are upset about anything I said 6 months ago. I don't deal with them on a regular basis. It's only a couple people that watch the show, and then everybody's got to get their little chirps in on Twitter, and it's just generally people that don't have anything better to do with their lives. And I just don't ever communicate with those people. So, no, I don't care.
Well, so do you want to take the time to reiterate what you said? Because they, for whatever reason, they've taken you saying he was underwhelming at the World Juniors to that he's overrated. And that was never anything that you said.
I may have used that term in reference to his play at the juniors, because up until I saw him at the World Juniors in the summer, I never saw him play live. And everybody was all abuzz about it, and I felt he was underwhelming, potentially because what I heard would lead me to think he was overrated from what I saw. And I just don't think he played up to his potential, and that's essentially the point that I was getting at, is he didn't. He didn't. He's clearly a talented player, and I was waiting for it to happen. It never happened.
And this was before he ended up being benched.
Yeah, I said it right away. Yeah, but, I mean, the fact of the matter is he didn't play to his potential. He didn't put in a solid effort that I think he's capable of, and it was just, that's just what it was. It's, I don't know. To me, I leave that stuff in the past and it's gone. I don't dwell on it.
Right. Well, like I say, they continue to write in, and they were happy to know that you were going to be on today, but you just explained what you said then, and also that it doesn't bother you now. So now let me just say this. Fun topic is to talk about, well, the top of the standings, the bottom of the standings, the playoff line. But, Connor Bedard's going number 1 overall. Where do you think would be the best fit for him?
That's really tough to say. He is going to go number 1. He should. He deserves to go number 1 overall. There's nobody better than him that's eligible for the draft. Where could he go that would be best? It's hard to say. You put him in a team like, let's say, Arizona. People are talking about that. And could he be a better player on that team? Maybe. But at the end of the day, he's going from a league where he's playing against boys to a league where he's playing against men. Where could he make the biggest impact? Hard to say. If you put him on a stronger team, which obviously he's not going to go to a strong team, but a stronger team, he's going to have other guys to play with that are going to support him. Whereas a weaker team, he's going to have to put in a little bit more effort. Like, for example, everybody talks about the Pats and whatever. Well, he was a lot different player at the juniors than he was with the Pats. He shines in the Pats, but he doesn't have the same quality of players to play with that he does at the World Juniors. He's a different player. good, bad, or otherwise. I don't even say bad, but good or otherwise. So where could he go? I mean, it's hard to say. It just depends on who he's playing with, who he's lined up with.
Well, one thing that I can't quite decide if you enjoy watching the hype or you're turned off by the hype around Bedard, but John Paddock was on the show last week in the bunker, and he goes, if he goes to a Canadian team, he's going to need to live in a gated community with 24-hour security because it's crazy. Whereas if he goes to, let's say, Anaheim, and you've lived there, he could roam the beach. Nobody will know who he is. He'll have a much more peaceful life.
But like I said, when we talked about that, Wayne Gretzky didn't have to live in a gated. Connor McDavid survives in Edmonton.
Now, yeah.
There's not a hotter hockey than, really Montreal or Edmonton. So if those two can thrive in that type of... I think Connor Bedard has it in him. I think he's professional enough and he's got his wits about him to be able to survive it no matter where he goes. I think that's going to be the least of the concerns.
Well, we plan and hope to be in Nashville for the NHL draft where Connor Bedard will be going number 1 overall. But now to these playoff races from the text line 902-518-3033 is the number where you can always reach us. Jim in Balgoni says, morning crew. Yay, here comes Serena. Her and Mike Richards are my favorite guests. You just never know what they might say. Approved, says Jim. Ron in Calgary writes in and he says, you can pretty much bet that most all the Boston players will say last night's game against the Flames was their toughest game of the year so far. Flames fan, you see Ron's writing in from Calgary. How about that? 54 saves by Linus Ullmark and the Bruins win in overtime. What is your read on the Calgary Flames and their plight right now?
How about that?
Since I don't care, but you're asking me, hence my shirt.
You care.
I care, but I will say this. I will even if it's the Flames, the team I despise the most, it's never wise to gloat on your enemies, ever. Because you know what? As an Oiler fan, we went through it. I will never gloat on what's happening to that team. It sucks. I have friends that work for the team. I love the coaching staff there. It's not fun when that happens. I will never gloat about that. It sucks.
Well, there's that. But, we look at these scores every day, the highlights and the score sheets. I mean, the Flames going into the year, Nazem Kadri, Jonathan Huberdeau, Mackenzie Weegar, beefing up their lineup. They thought they would be better. Shoot, we're sitting here in South Florida where Matthew Tkachuk last night set up the winning goal for the Florida Panthers. Things could not have worked out worse for the Calgary Flames in the last 7-8 months.
It's not over yet. It's not over yet. You have a guy. I personally don't feel like Matthew Tkachuk is a franchise player. I don't. Jonathan Huberdeau was a franchise player here. I still think there's just a disconnect there. They have all the puzzle pieces, they're just not fitting in the toolbox properly. I think there's still going to be something. It might not be this year, but I wouldn't count out that trade as a huge Calgary loss.
Is there a chance that they still need time? I mean, we're hearing that from the NHL scouts. It takes time for teams to come together. Is that where Calgary is right now?
Potentially. We're seeing a lot of bizarre things with teams this year, like Buffalo and New Jersey, that didn't make huge changes over last season to this season, but they're seeing a lot of growth. So that could potentially be it. I don't follow the Flames enough to figure it out, but it's always a topic of conversation between the two of us. I'm not sure there is an answer. They would have already done it.
Great comments from our viewers. Ted from Red Deer writes that he says, late getting in, just in time for Serena. Perfect. So you got a fan there. From Ryan in Saratoga, New York. Just got back from lunch errands. Hey, Serena's here. From Stephen in North Dakota. RP show panel. Mike Richards and Serena would be great. Allie in Texarkana says, I totally agree. It doesn't take long to go from the top to the bottom, especially in the NHL. Later on, when it's just me on the show, I'll be doing my NHL top 5, bottom 5. But the Dallas Stars, people, I haven't had them in my top 5, but maybe once all year. And people are saying, where's the Stars? I was never a believer. We got roughly 20 games left in the regular season. You got fans writing off their teams. You just said, it ain't over yet. That's a lot of hockey. It's a lot of time.
It is a lot. But who knows? Who knows what can happen? I mean, I personally don't see any team making a big burst into the playoffs that we didn't expect.
Where are we on the Oilers?
That's a deep, deep question.
It's what I do.
Well, I think that there was something, we've always had weak defensemen, and ever since pretty much Bill Ranford, we haven't had solid goaltending. I'm not a huge Curtis Joseph fan, although there are some out there, but it's just kind of been sketchy back and forth. The defense, though, needs to be cleaned up. It's needed to be cleaned up for years. The fact that the Oilers put all of their trust in Darnell Nurse, who I think is one of the worst defensemen for what he gets paid in the NHL right now, I think this is going to be a huge change. And Ekholm is big, and that's what the Oilers need. A couple years ago when they picked up Duncan Keith, I thought, well, this is going to go one of two ways. But I don't think it's going to be any worse because that's the situation that we're in. So let's see what Ekholm does. He's not going to hurt. Having said that, I think losing Tyson Barrie was a loss. Tyson Barrie really picked things up. He's done so well for Edmonton, and you could tell he was just one of those guys that plays with heart. I really liked watching him play.
Glenn Erickson in Medicine Hat writes in, he says, so appreciative Serena is confident enough to stand her ground in a social media world infested with jock sniffers, apologists, shills, and politicians. She's a breath of fresh air.
Thank you. The only reason that all this stuff is happening right now with Connor Bedard is because of social media. People wouldn't know who he was 20 years ago. Not really, not the same way. And now everybody's in a flap about it. You're either on Team Bedard or you're death.
Swerve in Calgary says, this chick would beat me 3 out of 5 in an arm twist contest. Maybe we should set that up at the Grey Eagle.
We should set up right now.
Swerve in Calgary. Regarding Bedard's NHL future, Nelson, our VP of Sim Events, writes in. He says, very few people can carry that franchise player tag with them to their next chapter.
Agreed. I do agree. I just meant as a character. I'm assuming he's talking about Huberdeau. I just meant as a character. Like, that's the kind of player he is. He's not a quitter.
Rich in Edmonton says, large price to pay to get Ekholm, but they desperately need a shutdown defenseman.
You got to give something to get something, period. That's the way the NHL is, especially for a good defenseman.
John in Edmonton, some Oilers fans want Darnell Nurse traded. Do you think that's a viable trade to help with their cap space?
If it was up to me, he'd have been gone a long time ago. He's a waste of money. I think he's a terrible defenseman. Every time he gets the puck, he turns the puck over. He makes a mistake every single time he's on the ice. How is he worth $10 million? He's taking up so much cap space and he's not doing anything. It's gotten past being personal with that guy. I'm ready for him to be gone.
Jenna in Southern California. Good morning, Serena. I'm here too, Jenna.
She doesn't care.
She says, love seeing you on the show. Sabres just outside the wild card. I'm super excited. Hey, before we do break, and we got a couple of minutes, how about these Florida Panthers? You spent some time around the NHL people at the All-Star Week. I did not expect them to come back. They had their way with the Lightning last night in Tampa. Unfortunately, nobody here has noticed, but the team's playing well.
They are. They get streaky a little bit. That's what happened last year. They get streaky. I think it was a one-off against Tampa. They have this thing. They just cannot beat the Lightning, generally speaking, and in the playoffs. And I said it last year. They don't stand a chance. They don't have a prayer. Tampa beat them in 5. It wouldn't surprise me if it happened again. There's a block there.
From Terry writes in, he says, yeah, Nurse, 3 or 4 D-men, not top line, good, not great. From Ted again in Red Deer, LOL, don't sugarcoat it, Serena. Please tell us what you really think. Joking. Yeah, she does. And we will take a timeout other than to say Nelson says the team flying the Falcon today needs to be ready with that hot take button when Serena's on. Let's go. A segment of truth bombs. I get it. He's saying those that are operating the Millennium Falcon. You know all those guys, Clark and Jordan. It's not like she's going to swear. Are you?
I almost did a couple times. I had to watch myself.
We'll be back in a moment. We're live on Game Plus TV, YouTube, iHeartRadio, and your southern home of sports and talk, WQEE, the key.
Head to youtube.com/The Rod Pedersen Show now. You You gotta subscribe. Click the subscribe button for all the content you may have missed.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
I'm Bridget Lacquette. I'm a First Nation Olympic silver medalist, and I'm proud to represent Indigenous hockey players across Canada. Each year, hundreds of Canadians need a stem cell transplant from an unrelated donor to save their life. Anyone can have a hard time finding a stem cell match, but for Indigenous peoples, it can be even more difficult because just over 1% of prospective donors on Canada's stem cell registry are of Indigenous backgrounds. Be a hero. Join me in Hockey Gives Blood in helping to make a life-saving difference to those in need. Register today at blood.ca/beahero.
Is it time to take your event online? Bring it to IKS Live. We've got a fully customized virtual event platform with remote guest support for your next fundraiser, talk show, conference, performance, and more. IKS Live offers live streaming to Facebook Live and YouTube and pre-recorded capabilities, both in our studio with green screen available and on location with pre-production and post-production services. Visit us at ikslive.ca.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
Universal Collision Center is Saskatchewan's premier auto body shop. Our extensive process ensures that every vehicle that comes through our state-of-the-art facilities is returned pre-accident condition, and that every UCC customer experience is an easy one. We're certified to repair all makes, all models, and all luxury brands, and Universal Auto Spa offers full-service detailing packages to suit you and your vehicle. Plus, we're the official body shop of your Saskatchewan Rough Riders. Universal Collision Center, 3910 Rochdale Boulevard and 2355 First Avenue in Regina.
It's time to trade and upgrade at Capital Ford Lincoln. Great news, factory credits are back. That means massive savings on every new vehicle. Take advantage of up to $7,000 in discounts on all remaining new 2022 F-150s. And rates are as low as 1.99% OAC. Looking for a used vehicle? You gotta check out our all makes, all models inventory. Plus, don't pay for 90 days on all new and used vehicles. There's never been a better time to trade and upgrade at Capital Ford Lincoln. CapitalFordLincoln.com.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Laid back and kicking it, let's head back to the studio. Here's Rod.
Hey, the RP Show continues on this Wednesday. Episode number 949 of your favorite daytime sports talk show is on the air. Game Plus TV and WQEE iHeartRadio. We've really got a spicy one going. Serena has let her thoughts out on Darnell Nurse. Richard Bieberdorf writes in. He is in Edmonton, and he says, Oilers need to dump Nurse. Jen from the Four Seasons says, Darnell should have been gone 4 years ago. From Lyle in Toronto, he's watching on Game Plus TV. Serena, great shirt and great tattoos. But do we think the Nashville trade is enough to make a difference? Do they make it past the second round?
I don't think that's the problem. I mean, it's not going to hurt us, but I don't think it's going to put Edmonton over the edge. I think there's other issues that need to be worked out to make that happen.
Nate writes in on the 902 line. He says, the Flames have 13 overtime losses. A couple of those go the other way, and they're first in the division. I wouldn't change anything. Well, clearly she doesn't want to talk about the Flames today, but I will say this. What would you change? That's the whole point.
The thing is, though, you could go look at that every single team and go, well, if we would have just won this game, every team has extra points that they lose. Let's be honest. Every team has that.
No, sure, but what I'm saying is they let Gaudreau walk. They let Tkachuk walk. They brought in guys that, well, Kadri's a proven winner. Huberdeau's an all-star. Mackenzie Weegar, an up-and-coming defenseman. You got a goalie you're giving $6 million to for 7 years, and you can't stop a beach ball. What would you do?
From a general manager standpoint, they didn't do anything wrong.
No.
Absolutely not. You had to ride out the Gaudreau thing the way it happened. You had to. You had no choice. It just, everything else happened the way it did. And we all thought Calgary was going to come out on top of this. And I'm still not convinced they're not. It's just telling you. It's the same reason we were talking last year about why Florida lost in the playoffs. Like Roddy said, Tampa has guys named like
Mason and Carter.
No, that's the Panthers. Yeah, they have
Steven and Victor.
Yeah, exactly.
Like Patrick.
It's just different. It's different. They don't have the experience. Yeah. They don't have it. It's completely different.
JT says, is Erik Karlsson getting traded anywhere in the NHL? No, their general manager, Mike Greer, has come out. I saw a headline somewhere and said he doesn't expect to move Erik Karlsson this year. By the way, Serena, in the break, said she'd like to address the Jonathan Quick trade today. And if you give me a minute, I'll call it up here. The Los Angeles Kings have traded goalie Jonathan Quick and a pair of draft picks to the Columbus Blue Jackets for defenseman Vladislav Gavrikov and goalie Younes Korpisalo. Quick had spent all 16 years of his career with the Kings and backstopped the club to a pair of Stanley Cup championships. You lived in Southern California during the prime of his career. This is not a small trade.
I can't think of another goaltender. I don't remember the last goaltender before the last 20 years that spent 16 years with a team. And I think he's past his prime. And I feel it's a good trade for the Kings. However, when you told me earlier, I almost fell off the chair. I just was shocked. I didn't see it coming. But maybe this is a team that's saying, okay, instead of letting a guy sit on the shelf until his expiration date is passed, why don't we try to get something for him? And it's kind of refreshing when teams do that.
Jonathan Quick gone to the Columbus Blue Jackets. We've talked about the race at the bottom of the standings for the Connor Bedard #1 overall sweepstakes. We've talked about the playoff race in the West. But the East, the poll question again today for Capital Auto Mall Universal Collision Center. Capital has dealerships all across the Canadian prairies and the state of California. Who is the best team in the Eastern Conference? We only have 4 options, unfortunately, available on YouTube and Twitter. So we went with Boston, Carolina, the New York Rangers, and Toronto. That's based on the top 4 teams on points. You'd like to throw Tampa Bay and New Jersey in there. And it might not, Serena, have even been worded properly. What I meant was who's going to be in the Stanley Cup final out of the East. That's different than saying who's the best team now.
Well,
unless it's the same team.
Either way, I voted for Boston. Boston is going to be tough. They've proven all year that they're strong. And New Jersey doesn't have the depth. They're playing well, but they're not a top. And Tampa's kind of flying or level, like they're sitting around the middle. I don't see anything big coming out of Tampa, but I think Boston's going to be so strong. They already are.
Winners of 8 in a row, the Boston Bruins. They're running away with the poll. John Ohm in Winnipeg, and I got to get it. And I might duck for cover or put on a helmet with this question. Serena, what's your take on Gary Bettman's 30-year tenure? Has he done a good job or what?
Did you put him up to this?
It's right here. You can read it.
Anyone who knows me knows that I absolutely despise Gary Bettman. Ever since he's come into the league, everything has gone south. There's too many teams in the league, causing the talent to be completely diluted. The guy has changed so many rules. I was just talking to my dad the other day. He's like, with 3-on-3 overtime. What is that? What are we watching? My dad's like, they need to put the red line back in. It changes the game. You have 3-on-3 overtime. They go up, make a play, and then they wait. Circle around for a change. Go back. Nothing gets done on it. It's terrible hockey. It's terrible. So many things have changed that if you were to ask any Canadian, they'd be like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. And most Americans are like, well, I don't really know the difference anyway because I haven't been watching since before Gary Bettman was around. He's gearing the league toward the United States, and it's appalling to me because why push something where people don't care? I don't understand it. It makes no sense.
We can stop there. But, we talk about these things all the time. The NHL All-Star Week was here a month ago almost.
About that, yeah.
3 to 4 weeks ago. You were there. What did you think?
It was embarrassing. We went to the skills competition. I thought, cool, we're going to see some skills. What I saw was people standing up in front of me to get their pictures taken with all the mascots that were walking around the rink. And I'm like, this is what this league has become? It was boring. There was nothing happening. Too many commercials. PK Subban running around the ice. It was a circus without the tent. And then the All-Star, forget it. I didn't even know what was happening.
The skills.
No, the actual
the
All-Star game.
Okay.
It's like, what is this here? I don't even get this.
I said Monday morning, I wonder in the NHL offices in downtown New York, 5th Avenue in Manhattan, if Gary Bettman slammed the door, pounded his fist, and said to his staff, what was that? Or would he even care enough?
I think he supports that type of behavior because he feels like hockey fans in South. Someone explained to me why there's been 2 All-Star games in South Florida since there's been 1 in Toronto. Is that not a disconnect about what's happening with the league? Why? It doesn't make any sense to me. It's become entertainment, and the truest in me does not like that.
Jen at the Four Seasons says, I was waiting for a big F-bomb to come out there. LOL. Have your finger on the button, boys. We don't know where this is going. From Barry.
Give me some credit.
He says, Gary Bettman equals Grandpa Munster. Enough said. From John Ohm. Love your no BS opinion on the NHL, Serena.
Well, let me tell you, here's the thing. When you go from growing up in Canada and being around hockey 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365, it's all we care about. Some people care about the CFL, but it's like 10%. Everything else is hockey. And I've lived in Southern California and South Florida where they think it's like a hockey hotbed. And it's such a different mentality. So I've seen it from both angles, and it's completely different.
Rich, did I read this? Rich in Edmonton says Gary Bettman. I will say Gary Bettman did a lot to get Rogers Place built in Edmonton. Other than that, ... Just to walk it back here, Jordan Ewart says, agreed, the Devils are very solid. Now with Timo and their entire core intact, watch out. What about these moves? Let's go back to, I guess, the Ryan O'Reilly trades, like the first really big one.
I was
a week ago Friday.
I was also shocked by that one. Again, it's not something that's going to hurt the Leafs. I think it's going to help them. You got a guy that wants to play there. Why not? I also do agree that the Timo Meier going to New Jersey thing is going to be huge for the Devils. That's going to be a big help.
Even I'm starting to buy into thinking this is going to be the best Stanley Cup playoffs of all time. Do we think that every year and forget? Or is this literally shaping up to be the shootout at the OK Corral that's going to go on for, 2-3 months?
Well, think of it like this. Last year I felt was a pretty good playoffs. But for a couple years before that, because of COVID, everything was so bizarre. So last year was the first year we've had like a normal kind of everybody getting back to normal. And I think this year will be similar to that. It's really hard to say. They could drag out. I obviously liked last year's playoffs. I thought there was a lot of great series. I thought there was some random upsets, and teams that probably shouldn't have advanced did, but it's like that every year.
Nelson, our VP of Sim Events, says it is a double-edged sword. Without a good business person at the helm, you get the CFL stagnant and shrinking popularity and attendance. Gary has not been great for hockey, but he's been great for business. Jen at the Four Seasons says Bettman's not good for Canadian hockey. Can't stand that guy either.
Oh, don't like him. But my question then to Nelson is, if he's so good for business, why does the NHL have the lowest salaries out of all the professional sports teams? You got to look at it like that. Basketball's growing. Even after when hockey came back after COVID, the rinks weren't full. When you reopen stadiums here, packed. completely packed. Not hockey. I'm talking football, basketball, everything went all in. Those are money-making businesses right there. The NHL's not a moneymaker.
Unfortunately, you're right. From John in Edmonton, he says Serena should have a no-filter NHL podcast with Don Cherry. They're really trying to trigger you today without even knowing it.
There is not a person I look up to more than Don Cherry. Absolutely. I completely agree. Get him on the horn.
Do you want to? Have we discussed that on this show?
I don't think so. I don't know.
We got about 3 minutes here for your take on Don Cherry and the way that played out.
We did talk about it. We were at the beach house when we talked about it. It's appalling that happened. That's a crime. What happened to him, even as a human being? How do you work somewhere for that long and have that happen to you so somebody can make a point, a stupid point, to say the least? I haven't probably watched Hockey Night in Canada on a Saturday night faithfully. I don't even remember. I never missed. The only time I really turn it on is if Toronto and Montreal are playing, or obviously Edmonton's playing the early game. Otherwise, I don't even watch it. It's garbage.
Well, you're talking about the intermissions, not the games.
The whole thing. I just don't have the enthusiasm to watch it anymore. It's completely different.
Yeah.
You don't have grapes before. You don't have grapes after. You always got that spicy one right after the third period. It's just missing. It's lacking.
Any last thoughts before we let you go? I'm trying to remember what your Stanley Cup prediction was. We've all changed ours, except for Darren. He has stayed with Colorado, Carolina from day one. I said Calgary, Florida. Insert laugh track if you want to. I'm now saying Boston, Vegas. I think yours was Tampa, Colorado again, if I'm not mistaken.
There's no way I would have picked Tampa. There's no way.
But because they've only been in the last 3.
I don't like them. I think I remember specifically saying, I don't want to pick because it's hard to say. I thought Colorado might be good. You never know. They might come up, but I feel like I actually thought the Rangers are going to be tough, and Boston. As far as the West, honestly, I still don't really know. Somebody's obviously going to rise to the top, but who knows who that's going to be.
Well, again, the John Paddock interview I thought was very revealing here last week. He feels that the East will beat up on each other and the West will waltz into the Stanley Cup final and maybe to the championship.
That's probably very accurate, but by the time you get there, you never know what can happen. If you don't come up against quality, you can get burned out too.
All right. Any last thoughts?
Thanks for having me.
All right. Serena Taylor's got a lot of things off her chest. When we come back, Jason Gregor from TSN 1260 Edmonton. So get your orders, questions ready, or whatever else you'd like to discuss. A sports update, too. And our NHL top 5, bottom 5. We're live on Game Plus TV, YouTube, and WQEE, The Key.
Head to youtube.com/The Rod Pedersen Show now. You gotta subscribe. Click the subscribe button for all the content you may have missed.
Hey, Rod Squad. Now you can join the team with your very own RP Show gear. Head to rodpetersonshop.com and get yours today while supplies last. It's just like we wear on the show. Official RP Show gear at rodpetersonshop.com.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
I'm Bridget Lacquette. I'm a First Nation Olympic silver medalist, and I'm proud to represent Indigenous hockey players across Canada. Each year, hundreds of Canadians need a stem cell transplant from an unrelated donor to save their life. Anyone can have a hard time finding a stem cell match, but for Indigenous peoples, it can be even more difficult because just over 1% of prospective donors on Canada's stem cell registry are of Indigenous backgrounds. Be a hero. Join me in Hockey Gives Blood in helping to make a life-saving difference to those in need. Register today at blood.ca/beahero.
It's It's time to trade and upgrade at Capital Ford Lincoln. Great news, factory credits are back. That means massive savings on every new vehicle. Take advantage of up to $7,000 in discounts on all remaining new 2022 F-150s. And rates are as low as 1.99% OAC. Looking for a used vehicle? You gotta check out our all makes, all models inventory. Plus, don't pay for 90 days on all new and used vehicles. There's never been a better time to trade and upgrade at Capital Ford Lincoln. CapitalFordLincoln.com.
Universal Collision Center is Saskatchewan's premier auto body shop. Our extensive process ensures that every vehicle that comes through our state-of-the-art facilities is returned pre-accident condition, and that every UCC customer experience is an easy one. We're certified to repair all makes, all models, and all luxury brands, and Universal Auto Spa offers full-service detailing packages to suit you and your vehicle. Plus, we're the official body shop of your Saskatchewan Roughriders. Universal Collision Center, 3910 Rochdale Boulevard and 2355 First Avenue in Regina.
Gotta hit the beat. Gotta hit the beat. Gotta hit the
Download Dark Horse Bets today.
I gotta hit the beat.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Oh, yeah, he's back. Time for more of the Rod Pedersen Show.
Okay, the RP Show continues on this Wednesday. It's been an entertaining one. You knew that it would be. We'll update the poll question, get to all these messages from our audience in a second. Hang on, Vanner. We'll get to yours. We're going to Edmonton now, where the game of the night is tonight. The Oilers and the Leafs All-Canadian matchup. Jason Gregor joins us from TSN 1260 Radio Edmonton. Jason, great to see you again, my man. And I guess we should jump in right there with this game tonight. Is it a measuring stick for both teams, or is it too soon, given their new rosters, to look at it that way?
Well, you know, Edmonton's only got one new face in Matthias Ekholm, but there's definitely a ripple effect as far as, you know, how the blue line's going to run the power play with Tyson Barrie going out. You know, that's a huge move for Edmonton. Toronto has 6 new guys that they've acquired in the last, 11 days. Now, I'm not sure if all 6 will be in the lineup tonight. We'll wait and see. But, you know, I look at Edmonton. They played Boston on Monday. It was a really close game. It was a really entertaining game. And, you know, the Oilers unfortunately lost for them. But they need a win tonight against the Maple Leafs. They want to stay in the race in the Pacific. I think they want home ice advantage, and they got to start winning. LA won, Seattle won last night. Vegas is 4 points ahead. They got Carolina tonight. So, you know, I think it's a big game. And obviously for the Leafs, you know, their playoff future is going to be against Tampa, but they want home ice advantage. And so that's what they're going to be playing for. So I think you'll see 2 teams fired up. There's a little bit of extra juice on both sides as they got some new faces in the line.
There have been a lot of Oiler fans right in here today wanting me to ask you if the Oilers gave up too much for Ekholm from Nashville. How would you answer that?
Well, I'll say this. What has been the Oilers' biggest weakness since, well, ever, it seems? Defensive 5-on-5 goals against. They've been one of the worst teams in the NHL for a long time. Matthias Ekholm is a really good defender. And he's not just a defensive defender. The guy can move the puck. He can produce some points as well. But he's 6'4". He's 215 pounds, and he defends first. And that's been an issue in Edmonton. There's no doubt that losing Tyson Barrie hurts. But I think the organization feels, okay, number one, the power play runs through McDavid and Draisaitl. And then you could argue that maybe Nugent Hopkins is the third most important option. Not that Barrie is bad at all. His role on that power play, he was a great facilitator of the puck. He was excellent at anticipating. And so the Oilers' power play has been very good. They want it to continue to be good. It's not like they're bringing in a guy who's never played it. Evan Bouchard's played on the power play. So has Darnell Nurse. And both have had success. So it'll be a little bit different. There's some strengths that Barrie has that Bouchard doesn't. And then conversely, I think it works the other way. But to me, the big question now is, Can Bouchard's play be elevated 5-on-5? I honestly think the power play is kind of secondary because I think it'll be good. It's with Barry gone. Now the Oilers have 4 lefties, 3 righties. Bouchard probably is going to have to play a few more minutes, but I think you might see just Ekholm or Broberg move to the right side. And overall, I think the Oilers' defense as a group of 7 are better defenders today than they were. Now, hey, you got to give up something to get a guy. He's 3 years. It's not a rental. You know, a 23 first-round pick that's maybe going to be, 25 to 32 or something along those lines. Who knows when that player is going to hit. Reed Schaefer is definitely a good young prospect, but is he projected to be a legit top 6 forward? I don't know. But Edmonton doesn't worry about that now. They got to win. And Reed Schaefer wasn't going to help them win a cup in the next 3 years. Neither was the pick.
Who do you think would win a 1-game showdown or even a 7-game series? Last year's Oilers or this year's Oilers? Because there's a big change, a big difference between the two.
It's a good question, man. From last year, Keith's gone. Now Ekholm's in. Other than that, Costin's in, Cassian's out. Goaltending's the big one, right? I think it's funny, Rod, because Oiler fans were all like, Mike Smith sucks. Mike Smith sucks. And I was always like, whoa, pump the brakes. Did you see his save percentage? 923, 915 the last 2 years in the regular season. Yes, Mike Smith would make a few gaffes stick handling the puck every now and then. That didn't mean he didn't make a lot of saves. And so that's the concern for Edmonton down the stretch is can they get more reliable, consistent goaltending from both of their goalies? Skinner's a rookie, I understand it. But if you want to go somewhere deep in the playoffs, you're going to need more consistent goaltending overall than they've had through the first 61 games. So I might argue in a 1-gamer, you might take last year's Oilers because their goaltending was more consistent.
Well, and look at the Western Conference and who's getting hot and who's not. Colorado looks like Colorado, and the Winnipeg Jets are panicking. I get the sense their coach doesn't know how to handle this group because they're not the same group right now that they've been all year. It's very interesting what's going on in the Western Conference right now.
Winnipeg was one. They were playing very well. I always thought that Hellebuck was covering up for some of the mistakes on that team a little bit. And, they still should be good. Suddenly they're in a dogfight, though, for a wild card berth. So, it shows that, yes, Colorado's going, but everybody expected Colorado to wake up. I'm curious to see, do they make an acquisition? Do they know how healthy Landeskog is going to be or not? So that's going to be the big question there. But they're going to win their division. And it comes down to the Pacific and Edmonton, Vegas, Seattle, LA. What's unique about all teams, Rod? Every one of them in the West, in the Pacific Division, there's a question mark in goal, right? Jonas Korpisalo's never been that guy. He had 1 year where he was really good in Columbus. His other years has kind of been okay. Seattle's goaltending, not sure. You look at Edmonton, up and down. Vegas right now. Now, Laurent Brossoit's come back after a year off, and he's been unreal. But how long will that last? So every team in the Pacific has some goaltending questions, and we'll see if it gets answered in the postseason.
You know Laurent Brossoit well from his time with the Oil Kings. And listen, I didn't think Logan Thompson was an NHL goalie, but look what he's done all year. I thought I was past second-guessing Kelly McCrimmon, but I officially am now. If Krim says they're good, I think they're good. Like, is Vegas a team that we're going to hear from in the end here, well into the spring, which we became used to their opening 5 seasons in the NHL?
Well, they got some LTIR space, Rod. And now after Korpisalo being traded, I'm not sure there's a goaltender they're going to go for. Is Lankinen really going to be any better than what they have? Probably not. So, and Varlamov doesn't want to get traded, and I'm not sold that he's any better. So I think they'll stick with what they got in goal. But are they going to go out and try to add some more depth? It's wasted money if you don't fill it out. Mark Stone's not coming back in the regular season. So I would expect McCrimmon's going to add some more forwards to his group between now and Friday, and that could make them even more dangerous.
Okay, lastly, Gregor, the poll question is, who's the best team in the Eastern Conference? Boston's running away with it for Capital Automall Universal Collision Center, obviously. But do you see the Bruins in the Stanley Cup final? Do you think they can finish off this act?
It's a great question, Rod, because you look at historically, there's been some great seasons that didn't even get out of the first round of the playoffs. The 2019 Tampa Bay Lightning, they tied the NHL record for 62 regular season wins. They got swept in the first round of Columbus. Hedman got banged up and they stunk. What about Detroit in 2006? What do they have? 131 points or whatever the hell it was. And they lost in 6 games to the Edmonton Oilers. what you do in the regular season, it's crazy, but sometimes it means nothing. You get to the playoffs, it starts over. Boston, I think they're going to spank either wildcard team. But then they got to play the winner, Toronto and Tampa. That's going to be a tough series. And, health might be the factor. There's no question. Right now, though, Linus Ullmark, he's the one goalie that if I get into a playoff series, right now, I'd be confident that you go head-to-head with Vasilevsky. Right? That's the big advantage. Boston's depth, look at their blue line. They just got Orlov, my goodness, with Lindholm and McAvoy. They're good. But how injured is Hall? And what about Foligno, got injured in Calgary? If suddenly Boston's forward depth starts getting banged up, that's going to impact you in the playoffs. But it would be hard. Like, the thing is, I would still pick the field rather than Boston because the odds are they're not going to win 3 rounds. Like, it's hard to do. Like, it's crazy. That's why we've seen, ask the San Jose Sharks, man. Like, you can be a really good team for a decade and never win. So Boston's got a lot of things going, Rod, but my one concern is, are they quick enough in the playoffs to win? That's my one question about the Bruins. As good as they are, and I think every other team could elevate a bit, does Boston have another level to go to? It's hard because they've been at such a high level all year.
Bruins are, the playoffs are always great. This looks like it could be the best ever. We'll see. Jason, have a great show today. I always appreciate the time. Thank you.
Anytime, Rod.
Jason Gregor, TSN 1260 Edmonton. When we come back, our NHL Top 5, a sports update, and viewer takeover. We're live on Game Plus Television, YouTube, iHeartRadio, and WQEE The Key.
Have you subscribed to the Rod Pedersen Show YouTube channel yet? Head to youtube.com/The Rod Pedersen Show now.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
It's time to trade and upgrade at Capital GMC. Great news, factory credits are back. That means massive savings on every new vehicle. We have over 100 GMC Sierras available, and they're all priced to move. Looking for a used vehicle? You gotta check out our all makes, all models GM certified pre-owned inventory. Plus, don't pay for 90 days on all new and used vehicles. There's never been a better time to trade and upgrade at Capital GMC. CapitalGMC.ca.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
I gotta hit the beat.
Download Dark Horse Bets today.
I gotta hit the beat.
The SJHL raffle is underway with your chance to win a brand new Polaris side-by-side, courtesy the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. Tickets are available now until April 23rd, with the draw taking place live on SJHL Insiders April 27th. 1 for $25, 3 for $60, or 10 for $100. But there are only 5,000 tickets available. Get yours today at sjhlraffle.ca.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
You got something to say? You want to add to the show? What are you waiting for? Don't just sit there. Say something. Now, back to the studio with Rod.
Yeah, this is the studio, and this is why Wednesdays are your favorite day, because we're going to be doing our NHL Top 5, Bottom 5 coming up. But we got a lot of great comments have come in from our Rod Squad crew from the 902 text line regarding all of what we've been talking about today. Carl Van Camp writes in, he's watching in Humboldt on Game Plus TV. Hello, Vanner. It's been far too long since we've talked. He says, from a Rod Pedersen fan, I could not even watch the All-Star game. Gong show. Embarrassing. Why PK Subban? Terrible. Go Bruins. Carl Van Camp, Humboldt Sask. Thank you, Vanner. One of the winningest coaches of all time in SJ history. Regarding Gary Bettman, Nate in White City writes in, he says, Gary is only worried about making the owners money. He could care less about the game. I'm sure Mario's bank account in Pittsburgh sure likes him, though. And he's made the money. So from Grant, he says, hey, my New York Rangers versus Edmonton's already aging well. From Daryl, texting in from the 306. Serena Taylor and Don Cherry, number 1 and 2 hockey people in Canada. Honesty, common sense, smarts, integrity. Great show as usual. Signed, Daryl. I agree. All right, let's go with the NHL Top 5, Bottom 5. Our exclusive betting partner, Bet Regal. Let's go, boys. Number 1, well, it's obvious. It's the Boston Bruins. Of course, winners of 8 in a row and 13-point lead out front for number 1 overall. Can they finish it off and win the Stanley Cup? That's the only thing left to figure out. Number 2, I got the New York Rangers, everybody. They've got the talent, they've got the experience, and they've got the goaltending, the reigning Vezina goalie of the year, Shesterkin. Number 2, New York. Number 3, it's the Toronto Maple Leafs. As Elvis sings, it's now or never for Toronto. Number 4, the Tampa Bay Lightning. They've been there before. Sorry, Carolina. And number 5, it's the Colorado Avalanche. The defending Stanley Cup champions have won 6 in a row. They are who we thought they were, and they're the best of the West. Number 28, as we go to the bottom 5 now, the 5th worst team may surprise you to learn. It's the Philadelphia Flyers. They've only won 2 of their last 10 games. They've lost 3 in a row. They're sneakily bad. Number 29, the Chicago Blackhawks. They've lost 2 in a row. They can't stop winning. At least they've cured that for the Bedard sweepstakes, cured the winning problem. Number 30, the San Jose Sharks. They've lost 3 in a row. They've folded their hand. They're done. Number 31, Columbus Blue Jackets. I don't think they're going to finish last because Jonathan Quick's not going to let them tank. And number 32, it's the Anaheim Ducks. The Ducks belong in a tank. And they need to tank for Connor Bedard. So now Anaheim, as Arizona shot right out of the bottom 5. That's the top 5, bottom 5 for our exclusive betting partner, Bet Regal. Thanks for playing. Sports update on this Wednesday with about 5 minutes left to go. Hey, Ryan O'Radio checking in from WQEE. Man, I love being on that radio show. As I said earlier on that radio station, we have more radio listeners in the state of Georgia than Saskatchewan, Alberta, and Manitoba combined. Figure that one out. Rich in Edmonton says, Elvis. Yes, exactly. The king. It's now or never. From Ryan in Saratoga, New York. And in this corner, hailing from Florida by way of Regina Sask, Regal Rod Pedersen. That's not bad. But I feel like my boxing days are
behind me. From WQEE, Rhino Radio. Another great show, King Rod and his royal court. Hasn't this been an interesting day? We've learned a lot about some people today, wouldn't you all say? DM me later, I'll tell you what I'm talking about. I don't feel comfortable with saying it right now. There are 6 games in the NHL tonight, including an important showdown in Edmonton between the Toronto Maple Leafs and Oilers. The Leafs have won 3 in a row. The Oilers have lost 2 straight. Both teams have made significant roster changes ahead of Friday's trade deadline. Meanwhile, New York Rangers face the Flyers in Philly. Patrick Kane's expected to make his Rangers debut after being traded from the Blackhawks to Broadway yesterday. Of all the things we talked to Serena about, I forgot to ask her about Kane going to the Rangers. But she'll be on again tomorrow, which will make a lot of you very happy. There are 9 games in the NBA tonight, but the Toronto Raptors will have the night off after beating the visiting Chicago Bulls 104-98 last night. The Raps will visit the Washington Wizards on Thursday. The family of the late Kobe Bryant agreed to settle legal issues surrounding photos of the body of the NBA star and others who were killed in a 2020 helicopter crash. Attorneys say L.A. County agreed to pay Bryant's widow, Vanessa Bryant, and their daughters $13.5 million on top of the $15 million that jurors awarded her at a trial. In August, county deputies and firefighters had shot photos of the bodies and shared them with others in the department. Buffalo Bills general manager Brandon Beane says safety Damar Hamlin has a few more visits to doctors before determining whether he can pursue his goal of returning to play football after going into cardiac arrest and having to be resuscitated on the field in January. Understanding this, here in football mad Florida, I can't remember who I was with. It was a while back now, but the guy I was with turned to me and goes, "Do you think Damar Hamlin will ever play football again?" At that time, he was on life support in the hospital. I'm like, if he breathes again, it's a win. But that's, I wouldn't have bet that he even would have a shot to come back and play in the NFL. But we're all pulling for him and praying for him, that's for sure. This sports update brought to you by Landmark Cinemas. In theaters now, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. In the film, which kicks off Phase 5 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, superhero Scott Lang, played by Paul Rudd, and Hope Van Dyne, played by Evangeline Lilly, return to continue their adventures as Ant-Man and the Wasp. Together with Hope's parents, Hank Pym and Janet Van Dyne, the family finds themselves exploring the quantum realm, interacting with strange new creatures, and embarking on an adventure that will push them beyond the limits of what they thought was possible. In theaters now, Landmark Cinemas, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. What else do we have here? From Allie in Texarkana says, oh, yay, 2 in a row. Yes, Serena will be back on the air tomorrow. From Kevin the Medium says, the only thing Rod is boxing these days is his shadow, right? From Darren in Utah says, the Houston Coyotes no longer in the bottom 5. They've screwed that up, too. The Arizona Coyotes, not even in the running it's going to be for Connor Bedard. Anyways, enjoy all the games, everybody. Take care of yourselves out there, and we'll see you tomorrow at noon Eastern here on Game Plus and WQEE. See you, Rhino Radio. Love you.
Who has more fun than us?
Let's go.